in the dressing room at American Bandstand. Is the sign which I still have. This is a bad photograph, I apologize, but I kind of like it because it still has the sign in there. And we play the Olympic. Huh? Keith Atkins Levine. So, and I am getting to a point. A couple of things happen at the Olympic. All the way through the tour, yeah, here we go. All the way through the tour, every poster, every advertisement, every marquee, Lydon, Wobble, Levine, John Lydon, Keith Levine, Jar Wobble. It's like, hello, it's fucking me, fuckhead here. You know, I was only getting paid £60 a week, but still. And so by the time we got to Los Angeles, I'm like, okay, fuck this. I went outside at soundcheck and I said, hey, listen, don't mean to cause any trouble, but if my fucking name isn't on that marquee, you can all fuck off, you know. So I guess the sheen of, oh my God, I'm on stage with Johnny Rotten had started to wear off. Also, we played to, I think, 8,500 people at the Olympic Auditorium, and we didn't have any T-shirts because rock and roll tours had T-shirts. We didn't. And that kind of bums me out because John said the band had to release Paris because we were in debt, £30,000. Well, I don't know how many T-shirts you can sell to 8,500 people, but it's more than none, right? And if we'd sold T-shirts and been a little bit more rock and roll, whatever that means, maybe John wouldn't have had to do a butter commercial, but that's just conjecture. Yeah, all kinds of memories of that show. Anyway, we get to San Francisco. There's a radio interview in San Francisco where I asked the interviewer if he would ask me on air why, even though I was in Pill, I had my own band, Brian Brain. And just before the tour started, Brian Brain released the first single, They've Got Me in the Bottle, which is me and my friend Drosten, who went on to work with Cocteau Twins and Wolfgang Press. And that was in the alternative charts, number 23, I think, when we were on the West Coast. And so on the air, my response was, well, Steve, whatever the interview's name was, I want to do one thing musically that isn't a disorganized, catastrophic, bumbling, fucking mismanaged nightmare. I get into a fist fight with John, like a drag-out fight, call some friends in London from the radio station, run up a $400 phone bill, which was a lot in 1980. When we get home from the States, I think Wobble has kind of quit. He told me that he went to the house in Gunter Grove. Dave Crow, the accountant, opened the door, and Wobble grabbed the shoebox of money that he knew where it was. And he got back on a plane and went back to the States, rented an open-top Cadillac, Pontiac, I don't know, and drove around America. I think it was that point at which he kind of left the band. But I've been fired. So Brian Brain becomes a real thing. I'm gonna do a Brian Brain Zoom. When am I doing that, Molly? 17th. Next Saturday. And it's kind of a good news. Well, it's a good news thing. You'll see in a bit how intertwined Brian Brain and Pill were. But my friend who did the first single with me, Drosten John Madden, is going to join us next week. But we're going to auction some things, some Brian Brain things, and there's some new Brian Brain t-shirts, and we're giving Drosten the proceeds from those because he's in hospice care at the moment. He's not doing very well. So I'm hoping he's going to be able to join us. He's not remembering much these days, I talked to him earlier today, which is really sad. But maybe he'll enjoy some of the slides I'm putting together. I think Pete Jones, bass player in Brian Brain and Pill. See, I told you it was intertwined. I think he's going to join us too. So Brian Brain becomes a real thing. And just as we're about to come to America for the second time, I think it was the second time, where we flew everywhere and got into some trouble, I get the call, and this is what I was talking to Jeanette about. Like, who called me? Because Keith had fired me. I got into a fist fight with John. I slagged off the band in a radio interview. Stuff that you don't do, right? But I was still surprised when I got fired. But then, I don't know, a few months go by, and I'm fairly sure it was Jeanette who called me, because there's no way Keith would ever say, he probably wouldn't say today, I was wrong to fire you. He probably thinks I'm an absolute twat, fair enough. So I think Jeanette called me to come to the studio. Flowers of Romance was Kurt Cobain's, this says it's his 42nd most favorite album of all time. I actually choose to say it's 1, 2, 3. It's his third favorite album of all time, top of column 3. Or it's just a random list of albums. But cannot tell you. Also, Jeff Tweedy, there's a chapter in Jeff Tweedy's book called Flowers of Romance. It's about Flowers of Romance. What a kind of shiver of something I got from seeing this. Pretty cool. So, I just want to slag Pitchfork off for a bit. 2 years ago, they did a deep dive into Flowers of Romance, and to my knowledge, didn't talk to anybody who was actually involved. Vivian Goldman, who did the interview for Melody Maker in 1979, who teaches in New York, and I really get along with well, did a very interesting essay about some time on a farm around about the time of Flowers with a bunch of people who didn't do anything. If she was, I'm not going to change that comment. If she was hanging out with Keith, she was still hanging out with a bunch of people who didn't do much of anything on the album. We also did some recording at the Townhouse Studios. I still have this letter-headed paper. The building at the Townhouse had this Trump loyal effect painted on the side. And then this guy was painted on this side of the building as well. And this was their letterhead, which I thought was kind of cost somebody a fortune, but it was really cool nonetheless. All kinds of people had recorded at the Townhouse. Elton John, Queen, Phil Collins, The Jam, Asia, Brian Ferry, Coldplay, Muse. Well, Muse was after us, of course. Joan Armour Trading, the yardstick of post-punk credibility. Peter Gabriel. So I've spoken with Nick Launay about this, and I still don't remember. What conclusion we came to.